Hello and welcome dear students. My today's topic is maize. Name maize is derived from the South American Indian Arawak name Maize, which means that which sustains life. Maize or corn is a cereal crop that is grown widely throughout the world in a range of geo-ecological environments. It's known by many vernacular names such as Indian corn, makki, butta, etc. About 50 types of maize exist and consist of different colors, textures and grain shapes and sizes. White, yellow and red are the most common types. The white and yellow varieties are preferred by most people depending on the region. Corn or maize is an annual tall C4 grass that's one of the top 3 cereal crops grown in the world along with rice and wheat. With 210 global production of dried corn, more than 844.4 million metric tons harvested from 161.9 million hectares of land. Maize is cultivated worldwide and represents a staple food for a significant portion of the world's population. It's placed in the class Liliopsida under Cyprales, family Poaceae, genus Zea. In the genus Zea, 5 species are recognized, which are Zea diploprines, Zea lacrians, Zea maize, Zea nicaragensis, and Zea prins. Out of all the species, only Zea maize is the cultivated species, popularly called as maize, and the other species and subspecies grow as wild grasses, generally called teosyntes. The species Zea maize is further divided into 4 subspecies. These are Zea maize subspecies Huhutenagensis, Zea maize subspecies mexicana, Zea maize subspecies parviglumes, and Zea maize subspecies maize. All the species examined so far have a chromosome number of 2 and 20, except Zea prins, which have chromosome number of 2 and 40. In addition to the basic A chromosomes, species of maize also possess 1 or more supernumerary or B chromosomes. Maize genome has been studied considerably and is found to have high rate of repetitive sequences in the form of transposable elements, first described by Barbara McIntosh. Now we discuss about the origin, evolution and center of diversity of maize. Maize has been cultivated by indigenous people of North America, including Canada, for thousands of years. The name maize is derived from the 2 words. Maize was first used for food about 10,000 years ago by Red Indians living in the areas now called Mexico. Archaeological studies supported by phylogenetic analysis indicate that corn was cultivated in America at least 5,600 years ago. The exact genealogy of corn is uncertain as the plant is found only under cultivation. The probable center of origin is the Central American and Mexican highlands. By the late 1400s, corn was a common crop in Africa, Asia, Southern Europe and Middle East. Corn was a staple food in the American colonies during the 1600s and 1700s. They learned to grow corn from the Native Americans. Corn became a major commercial crop during the 1800s. The maize was introduced to Europe by Columbus in his first voyage, from where it was then introduced to tropics by Spaniards and Portuguese traders. The region from Guatemala to southern Mexico is believed to be the center of origin of maize. Preserved corn cobs were found in refuse heaps excavated from cave in New Mexico. Paleobotanical evidence suggests that cultivated corn arose through natural crossing, perhaps first with gama grass, that's Tripsacum, to yield teosinte, and then possibly with bay crossing of teosinte to primitive maize to produce modern races. Zea maize subspecies parviglumus is hypothesized to be the progenitor of the cultivated maize. However, certain other theories advocate that subspecies maize and subspecies mexicana and subspecies parviglumus have a parallel evolutionary history. Other discoveries suggested that corn did not develop in Mexico at all, arguing instead for a South American origin. The prevalent botanical theory today is that corn was domesticated from a wild, now extinct corn-like plant identified as Zea diploperines. Corn is grown on every continent except Antarctica. This is possible because scientists have developed diverse hybrid varieties of corn that suit growing conditions and locations worldwide. Today, it is one of the most widely distributed food plant in the world, growing over 160 million hectares of land. It's extensively grown in America, Mexico, China, and many other countries. America leads the world in maize with 44% of the global production. Now we discuss its botanical description. A typical maize plant is a tall 3 to 15 feet fast-growing annual grass forming seasonal root systems bearing a solitary stem called culm filled with a pith. The permanent root system has adventitious and prop roots. Adventitious roots develop as a crown of roots from the nodes below the soil surface. The prop roots develop into bands from the first row to 3 aerial nodes. These roots are comparatively thick, pigmented and covered with a waxy substance and have a dual function of providing support to the plant and taking up nutrients. Culms are erect, cylindrical, solid with prominent nodes and internodes, although some cultivars do possess lateral branchings called tillers. Maize leaf is a typical grass leaf and consists of a sheath, ligules, auricles, and a blade. The leaf blade is long, narrow, undulating along margins and tapers towards tip and is glabrous to hairy, more than 2 feet long and about 2 inches wide. The leaf is supported by a prominent midrib along its entire length. Maize plants are monoecious with male flowers borne in terminal panicled racemes called tassels, which bear 2-flowered pedicellate spikelets. Spikelets are about 9 mm long with nearly equal glumes which terminate in 2 sharp points. Lower lemma and palea are hyaline and subequal, minutely hairy. Anthers are 3, about 6 mm long, versatile, projecting out from the glumes, orange or purple in color. When the tassel is mature and conditions are suitable, warm and dry, anthers dehisce and release pollen grains. Maize pollens are anemophilous, that is dispersed by wind, and because of its large setting velocity, most pollens fall within a few meters of the tassel. The pollen comes in contact with the emerged silk or stigma. Female flowers are in eggshells of leaf sheaths. 1 to 3, rarely 4 lateral branches called shanks develop in the leaf axils which terminate in a female inflorescence called an ear. The shanks consists of nodes and much reduced internodes, the length of which varies in different races of maize. The ears arise from axillary bud apices and are covered by a number of leaves called husks, which encapsulate the developing ear. The thick axis of the ear is called cob, which bear 3 to 40 rows of male florets or ovaries, each containing a single ovule which develops into a kernel. Each ovary at its tip bear long thread-like silky hair representing stigma and styler canal, called maize silk, which is generally pink or light green in color. Seeds of maize are called caryopsis, which consists of an outer pericarp, seed coat or testa, endosperm and an embryo. Now we discuss about some common varieties of maize. Since maize is so easily cross-pollinated, new varieties continue to appear and the vast similarities and differences make them hard to classify. In fact, the number of varieties on record for corn exceeds that of any other crop. There are currently 25 primary races in Mesoamerica, none of which are pure, and about 300 races in the Western Hemisphere. Despite the numerous varieties, corn can be separated into 7 broad categories determined by the grain, storage, appearance and end uses. These are dent corn, flint corn, flour corn, sweet corn, pod corn, wax corn and pop corn. Dent corn, that is Zea maize variety indentata, derives its name from the dent or a depression that is visible in its dried matured kernels. This dent is caused by the shrinking of the soft floury starch within the hard starch which is contained to one side of the kernel. Most dent corn is yellow or white in color and is used primarily as livestock feed. About 95% of all maize produced is dent corn. Flint corn, that is Zea maize variety indurata, has a smooth kernel due to a little amount of soft starch contained within the hard endosperm. It ranges in color from white to deep red. The flour corn is Zea maize variety amylacea, resembles flint corn in size and shape but is mostly white or blue in color. Soft, mealy starch dominates the endosperm so the kernel can easily be crushed into flour. It is generally used for beer making and used in special food preparations. The sweet corn is Zea maize variety saccharata and Zea maize variety rugosa. This type is easily recognized by their wrinkled kernels, which are typically white or yellow. The sweetness is result of a genetic defect in metabolism that prevents the sugar from being completely transformed into starch. It has a soft, sugary endosperm and thus is bred specially for consumption in an immature state like corn on the cob. It is grown mainly in United States. The pod corn, that Zea maize variety tunicata, is grown almost exclusively for scientific research in an effort to trace the genetic roots of corn. Each kernel of pod corn is enclosed in a glume or a husk. Popcorn is Zea maize variety everta, has small hard kernels that contain high level of starch in the endosperm. A fascinating characteristic of popcorn is that when heated, the water in the starch steam pressure the endosperm to explode, causing the small kernels to swell and burst, producing an edible white flake. Though the pericarps of popcorn can be multicolored, the most common are yellow and white. Wax corn is Zea maize variety ceratina, is made solely of amylopectin. Now we analyze some of the cultivation and its techniques for corn. Though corn is a fairly resilient plant, continually cross-pollinating and hybridizing itself, adjusting to new climates and conditions as it migrated around the world, but it requires human cultivation in order to survive. It requires full sun, nutrient-rich, especially nitrogen soils, and adequate amount of water. Preparation of the soil by weeding, churning and generous composting is generally necessary for corn cultivation. Due to the countless varieties that span continents, different agricultural processes have been developed to nurture corn in a variety of vastly diverse climates. Maize grows in a number of environments from tropical to subtropical and temperate regions. Although it can be grown in a diverse range of climatic conditions, but temperatures between 21 to 30 degrees centigrade and a rainfall of 60 to 120 centimeters are the most suitable parameters for better productivity. The crop is best suited in alluvial and loamy soils with a pH of 5.5 to 7.0. Generally, it is grown as kharif crop, being sown in April-May and harvested in September to October. Frost as well as water stress should be avoided during the entire life cycle of maize, as these conditions severely affect the pollen viability and dispersal, thereby causing disproportionate yield loss. Maize is the most destructive plant to the soil nutrient and fertility and demands rich and heavy fertilized soils. Generally, besides organic fertilizers like cow dung and compost, about 110 kg of nitrogenous fertilizers, 36 kg of potash and 6 kg of phosphoric acid per hectare are applied to the soil before sowing of seeds. The seeds selected for sowing are pre-treated with fungicides and pesticides and are sown by broadcasting or dibbling or by modern planters. The crop takes usually 130 to 150 days for sowing to harvest. The physiological maturity is reached when the moisture content of the kernels reach 28 to 34%, and the crop is ready for harvesting when the moisture content of the grains reach to about 18%. However, storage of grain should be done when kernel moisture decreases to about 12%. Now we analyze chemical composition of maize grains. The gross chemical composition of the maize kernels in different types of maize like sulfur, flory, starchy, sweet, pop and black varieties vary from cultivar to cultivar. As an average, the carbohydrates, which constitute 70 to 75%, is composed of mainly starch with 72 to 73% by weight, besides small percentage of glucose, sucrose and fructose. The starch is mainly composed of amylase and amylopectin. Apart from starch, the next important component of the maize kernels are the proteins, which constitute about 5 to 14% by weight, fats about 1 to 2%, minerals 3 to 4%, crude fiber 1 to 2%, moisture 10 to 11%, and small amounts of vitamins, particularly vitamin B and vitamin E. Now we discuss advantages of maize over other cereals. Maize, being a C4 plant, is able to take advantage of sunlight better than most other major cereal crops and grows more rapidly because of the size and distribution of its foliage. The corn plant is uniquely adapted for high productivity for two reasons. It has a very large leaf area and has a modified photosynthetic pathway that allows it to survive extended period of drought. C4 syndrome, a modified pathway for photosynthesis, provides a highly efficient way for the plant to exchange water vapors for atmospheric carbon dioxide. The high yield of maize compared to other cereal crops is possible also because of the low position of the air, where it is able to capture a greater proportion of the nutrients. This is unlike the other cereals whose seeds are found high up on the plant stalk. The ear is covered with a husk leaf, shielding the kernels from pests and accidental dispersal, unlike other cereals where individual grains are covered only with bracts. Now we discuss some pests and diseases of maize. In most areas, corn borers are a problem. Their caterpillars, like larvae, are first noticed by a small pile of sawdust-like matter beside a small hole on the stalk beneath the tassel. The worm will crawl down and eat its way into the ear if not removed or smashed at the first sighting. Another common pest is the corn earworm. The eggs are laid on the silks and the larva of a noctuid moth eats its way into and down through the ear of the corn, consuming the immature kernels along the way. Some of the common diseases of the maize include downy mildew caused by Sclerospora maize, then common smut caused by Ostilago maize, and head smut caused by Ostilago riliana. Now we discuss something about crop improvement. Though the ancestry of maize is not well established, its recent history has shown tremendous improvement through breeding programs. Breeding experiments have yielded many hybrids, including single cross hybrids as well as double cross hybrids, many of which are high yielding as well as composite and resistant cultivars. The fact that maize has high commercial value and is the main staple food of millions of people in the developing countries means that there is much need for crop improvement initiatives. In fact, a number of international organizations and networks are involved in the process of maize crop improvement, particularly in the developing countries, such as CIMIT, that's Santiro International di Maggioramento di Maize e Trigo. Then we have AGPC, that's Food and Agriculture Organization, Crop and Grassland Services. Then TAMET, the Tropical Asian Maize Network, and Ambionet, the Asian Maize Biotechnology Network, to name a few. Now we analyze some maize growing regions and global production. Maize ranks third position next to wheat and rice in the world with respect to area, while its productive surpass all other cereal crops. Maize is grown in 70 countries of the world. Maize is grown all through the temperate and tropical countries worldwide. But USA alone produces about 42% of the total global production of the dried corn. China with 18% is the second largest producer of the maize, whereas Brazil, Mexico, Argentina being the other major producers. The maize is also grown to a large extent in Russia, Italy, Serbia, Croatia, Romania, Hungary, South Africa, India, Indonesia and Australia. Worldwide production of maize is about 817 million tons per year, at an average more than rice, that is 678 million tons, or wheat, that is 682 million tons. It is planted over 159 million hectares, that's about 390 million acres of land worldwide, with a yield of over 5 tons per hectare. Maize is one of the important coarse cereal crops grown in different agroclimatic conditions of India. India ranks 5th with respect to the area, that's over 8.17 million hectares, and 7th with respect to production, that's 19.73 million metric tons. Some of the common varieties and hybrids grown in India include hybrid AH58, hybrid AH421, Ganga 4 and Ganga 5, and Ganga Safed, followed by two Himalayan NMH 909 Raja, Composite 3 Vijay, Kisan and Vikram, then Agiti 76, Shakti and Ratan. In India, maize is grown in UP, Bihar, Punjab, MP, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Karnataka, AP, Haryana and Jammu and Kashmir. Now we discuss about the uses of maize. It can be directly consumed as food and as feed for cattle. It can be processed for a range of use, both as an ingredient in food or drinks like corn syrup in soft drinks or corn meals, or for industrial purposes. Maize is a major source of starch worldwide and is used as food ingredient either in its native form or modified through food processing. Different kinds of maize are used differently in different parts of the world, particularly on the basis of their endosperm and kernel composition. Ground dried maize constitutes a staple food in many regions of the world. Maize meal is also used as substitute to wheat flour to make maize bread and other baked products. Popcorn consists of certain varieties that explode when heated, forming fluffy pieces that are eaten as snack. Similarly, roasted unripe and ripe maize ears coated with onion extract form snack foods in many countries. Cornflakes form an important component of breakfast cereal among many countries of the world. Sweet corn, a genetic variety that is high in sugar and low in starch, is usually consumed in the unripe state. Such corn on the cob is a common dish in the United States. Corn oil obtained from the grains is used in cooking as well as many industrial uses, and cornstarch from processed grains is used as a thickener in sauces and puddings. In addition to uses as a human food, the seed, head and whole plant are used forage and silage, an important source of feed for livestock. Corn has become an increasingly important biofuel, both in the form of corn oil that is used as biodiesel and ethanol, and alcoholic fermented and distilled from processed kernels, which is blended with petroleum-based gasoline in various proportions for use as fuel. Besides this, corn is also used in the formation of plastics, fabrics and adhesives, etc. Dear students, today we discussed about maize. We highlight about its morphology, taxonomy, its cultivation and also its uses in day-to-day life. I hope it will make you understand the botany of maize. Thank you.